Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with the Hero Arts monthly card kit for September 2018. Yes, this one is coming out rather late, and the reason why is because I really struggled with this card kit. Very much so. The stamps, they're beautiful. I'm showing them here. But it really took me a long time to get through this kit. But what did inspire me were the dies. For some reason, I always gravitated to these dies, from the fancy die to all of those other dies that went with the kit. So I grabbed a piece. So guys, just sit back. If you remember the one with the backgrounds, here we go. So I grabbed a piece of Canson XL watercolor. I sprayed it with a spray bottle. And I'm going to use a 1-inch wide brush, which was interesting on this palette here, because of course I'm not holding down the palette, it's just going all over the place. And I'm using the cool red tone, and I'm going to use the cool orange, and I'm just going to let them blend. Now I'm okay if I see the brush strokes. I'm not looking for this to be very flat. I want it to have some texture. And then I'm going to finally come in with the brown. So we've got, you know, the pinkish and, you know, the cool colors going through this, but yet they look warm, like a sunset. Once that was completely dry, and I let it dry on its own, I did use my heat gun a little bit, but then I wanted to stop because I did want the colors to continue to move. And that's what our panel is going to look like. So the fancy die, was very attracted to this fancy die. I think it's very interesting. So I used the outer ring to cut the watercolor panel, and the inside ring, because it's two pieces that you fit together, so you have like this border that comes off. And I grabbed a piece of Desert Storm and I just cut that into the center because this is going to sit on the oval. Now again, this kit really, I'm going to be honest, you know, it wigged me out. I really struggled with some ideas on this. So you probably could have cut the watercolor panel the same size as what your stitch rectangle panel was, which please do that, so much easier. I'm going to use I'm telling you guys, get ready. I'm going to use my Simon Says Clear Watermark ink, and I'm going to use Champagne embossing powder, and that's by Recollections. And the sentiment I chose was Happy Autumn. So I positioned that where the panel's going to sit on that so that it could trail into that corner of the die cut. I grabbed, because I did this so ridiculously, I grabbed my micro glue dots and I'm putting them on the inside where those leaves are, overhanging into the oval. And that's what I'm going to be able to stick down onto the watercolor panel. So I know it's going to stay in place. Because I'm going to come in, and you can see how the oval went off there, but I'm going to come in with my double-sided foam tape, and that's just going to secure all of those pieces together. So wasn't too worried about, you know, using liquid glue. You know, the glue dots do just fine. Once all the backing paper is removed, I'm going to set this on my standard A2 side card base, which all of my card bases are for today. Standard A2 size is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and mine are top folding. So it is going to cover the entire front. I then dug into my Nouveau Drop collection, and I grabbed the Jewel Strawberry, and I just wanted to put just a few drops around the sentiment, just to let that be pulled out a little more. And that is our first card. So for the second card, again, I grabbed a piece of Desert Storm. I was really going towards the Desert Storm or a craft paper too with this. But I think these are the only two with that. So I used my Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangle. And again, I went with the dies. I didn't go with the stamps. Now, what was beautiful about these dies is you can tell the image. It's not just the outline. There's pieces that are cut out. So maybe that's why I gravitated to them, but I cut them out of white cardstock. I stamped the sentiment Thankful using my Gina K white pigment ink. And I lost some footage here, but I originally went over with my Hero Arts Satin Pearl. Yeah, that didn't work. So then I stamped it again, got it right, kept on adding white embossing powder, and now we've got this halo that's going on there. But that's okay. I kind of like it. So that was oh so fun. So I'm going to glue these die cuts right down onto the card panel. Again, we all have these issues. When we have these kits, we struggle with them. So do I. I want everybody to know that. But remember, we keep going. We give it a try. And I want to inspire you. So I'm really hoping these cards inspire you all. If not, that's okay. So once I have those set, and I think they're pretty just like that, I'm going to grab my Tonic Studios tape runner, and I'm going to adhere that onto my standard A2 size card base. Again, it is going to cover the entire front, and it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to set that in place. Got a little bit nervous. I thought I was going crooked, so had to peel up a little bit. Was praying the cardstock was not going to rip because it was going there. So now that we have that in place, I love white and craft. You guys have seen, if you've seen previous videos, I love using my white colored pencils, but I always do try to add just a splash maybe of color sometimes. So I used a piece of the ribbon that came with the kit, and I just tied a knot there, and I just have that hovering around the thankful sentiment. So these dies were absolutely gorgeous, and again, it's because of the detail. Once again, I lost some footage going on, so I'm just taking all of these colors down. I had one layer down. I used my heat gun to dry it. Now I'm going over on top with another layer because I don't want to create mud. Some of these colors will give me mud, but I'm loving those blooms. I'm splashing water on this. I'm splashing some of the other colors on this, just so that they'll blend and merge. So because this is wet and I'm doing those splatters, these colors are going to blend in once it's dry. It's not going to look like this. And I didn't want it to fully look like that. I wanted it to dry into itself, but have those blooms and everything else. I grabbed another general piece of cardstock. This is just a piece of Nina. So I'm just doing splattering on this. I use my Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangles die. I know you guys are all missing the wonky. It's coming, I promise. And I'm just adding all of the colors that I used on that other panel. I'm now putting on this piece here. No rhyme or reason. I'm just going all over with these colors just to add those splashes, just flecks of the color. Didn't want them to be too big either. So I set those panels aside. Now I've got a big droplet of water going on there. That's okay. I'm just going to pick some of the water up with my paper towel, and it's okay that that's there. So I use the leaf die. Whenever I do leaves, this is the technique that I'll do, either with watercolors or my oxides or my distress inks. It's usually what I do. These were very bright and vibrant colors. I usually do pick deeper colors, deeper purples, reds and greens, and some golden yellows. But I gravitated towards the dies. So on the panel with the splatters, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And the sentiment I chose is, you bring color to my world. So I die cut 2 other items. Yeah, I was really bad with the footage here. I was just going to town with this and totally forgot to hit the play or the record button. So out of black cardstock, I cut the vase, and I cut one of the branches with the maple leaves on it. So I just wanted that silhouette to sit there. Again, I like to play on the sentiments. Sometimes the sentiments help me create what the card's going to look like so that they tie in together. A lot of people don't do that. That's one of the things that I tend to do. So you all knew that the vintage photo was going to come out at one point. So I went around the edges of my leaves just to let them stand out a little bit. And now I'm going to adhere them. So I chose 5 of them. So I am going to have some extras. And I'm just going to place them down just along the top of the sentiment to make it look like they're sitting somewhere and they came off of that silhouette. The last 2 I am going to prop up using some fun foam or some foam squares, not fun foam. And I'm just going to straddle them in between those 3, going in different angles to make it look like they fell into a pile. Don't worry, those other leaves are going to be used. So I grabbed my tape runner again, and I'm going to set that on top of my standard A2 size card base. Again, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is a top folding card base. And we're just going to set that in place. I'm really not going to add too much else to the front of this card because of the splatters and all the beautiful color that's sitting there. I think it's enough. The last 3 leaves, I'm going to put those on the inside. Again, when you have extra die cuts, I'm finding I'm getting them into the inside of my card. Still getting used to doing that. Usually I leave the inside alone, but I like those 3 sitting in there. So that's that 3rd card. That's kind of my favorite, I think. This one, oh, sit back, get ready to laugh. I'm going to be honest. I had a vision in my head. Obviously, the vision left where my thought brain was going because I should have just stayed right here. Just put that branch across the top in the gold or had the branches coming down one after another, which would have been beautiful with the sentiment. No. I come up with the brilliant idea to create like a border. You know, we have those dies, those frame dies that are like branches or twine or scribbles. That was what was in my head. The process that I did should have left my head too. So I'm going to take each of these, now I'm thinking of it. Yes, please, if you do this, just take the color straight down the front of the card. And notice this is the wonky die that I used for this panel because this is where we were going. So I'm going to continue in a bad way to make the frame. So I want these each connected. And I'm just going to go around. Now remember, we continue with our card. We don't stop. We're not quite sure where we're going to go with it. It could be something that turns out great. It could be something that maybe makes us go, I would change this. I would do this. But just remember, when you keep going, that means you're trying something. You're trying something different. Just because some of us have YouTube channels doesn't mean that we are experts. Especially me. I will be the first one to say that. I like to play with things. I like to see what they're going to do. Again, this one I should have stopped. But it's okay. As I'm watching this, I come up with other ideas. And maybe you'll try that idea. And if you do, I would love to see it on my Facebook. Please, try that. I think it would be beautiful. I did cut the sentiment. It's okay. It can go back together. I'm using my VersaFine ink to stamp my image. And the fingers really wiggled here. There was a lot of wiggling. I did edit some of that out. I grabbed my glue. And I'm like, okay, we're going to set this on top of my card panel, my A2 size top folding. And I dug into my Nuvo. So I grabbed the purple, which I believe is plum pudding. I grabbed my red berry. I grabbed my English mustard. And I believe I also grabbed my dark walnut. I think that one's going to come in too. And I'm just now adding those same dots of colors around. So it's kind of like a autumn skittle card. We guess we could call this. I think with the dots, it helped. But I was also getting very symmetrical, if you notice. So I had to have one down in the bottom corner, had to have one in the upper left-hand corner. But I think the dots helped. Yeah, that was card number 4. Hopefully I make it up to you with card number 5. I grabbed 3 of my Distress Oxides in Worn Lipstick, Spice Marmalade, and Dusty Concord. So the paper that I grabbed is a piece of Bristol Smooth. I do like the way that they go onto Bristol Smooth. Again, I wasn't sure if I was going to add a lot of water to this after I created this background or if I was going to spritz. So always like to be prepared. So I usually will grab Bristol. I'm safe with using that going either way. So I started with the spice marmalade. I'm now coming in with the warm lipstick because I didn't want to put the purple to the orange. That would have given me brown, or what we like to call mud. Now I'm going to put that next to the warm lipstick so that they will blend together. And I'm going very heavy. I want a lot of color on this panel. I want it to take forever to dry. Remember, your oxides are both a dye and a pigment concoction, which is a wonderful concoction, but they will take longer to dry because of that pigment property that's in there. But that's also what really helps them to blend like butter. So just keep that in mind. If you're just starting out with your oxides, I am a fan of the oxides. Absolutely love them. They are my favorite ink. So I grabbed my distress sprayer. And now the distress sprayer will give you big drops. But we'll look at what's happening as I get my hand out of the way eventually for you. Because it gives these big drops depending upon if you squeeze the trigger slowly. And that's what I wanted. But you can see, now usually we spray it and we immediately put a towel on top of it to lift it. I didn't want to do that. I usually don't like doing that. I like the property of the oxides, the difference of the color, the chalkiness when it dries. And I love it when we let these droplets dry on their own. I did come in with a paper towel to sop up some of it because I was getting impatient, let's be honest. But I just like that look. It's like a wave. It's almost like you're looking through a piece of glass and it's frozen or it's raining. So I just thought it was different. So give that a try. Again, I'm grabbing 2 of the stamps. And again, I gravitated to the branches when it came to the stamps. So I'm going to set those in place. And while I'm at it, I'm grabbing my sentiment. And the one that I grabbed was You Are Vibrant. I thought it was fitting for this panel that I'm using here. So I'm going to try to make sure that's straight. 9 out of 10, maybe not. And I'm going to use my VersaFine. And I'm going to stamp this down. I do stamp twice because of the texture that is within the Bristol paper. And please, I must apologize for my lighting. I totally forgot to turn my overhead light on. Or out. So I do apologize for this wave that you're getting across my screen. It's very nasty. Anyway. So I'm using my clear embossing powder and I'm going to heat set that. So I just thought that was really pretty. In black, you could do it in silver, you could do it in gold, you could do it in a deep purple or a navy blue. That would be absolutely gorgeous. I could have grabbed that. And on the back of this panel, I'm going to put down some double-sided foam tape because, again, with all of that moisture to it and water, it did warp just a little bit. But once it dried naturally, it did really go down flat. I used my Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle, and this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel that will cover my entire card base. I grabbed my iridescent sequins. For those of you that have seen my videos before, they are my favorite because to me they're like little chameleons. They actually, they add a bit of shimmer, but then they also change colors. They will adapt to what they go on, and that's why I like them. So I loaded up with my glue spots there, and I'm going to put my sequins down in those areas. And I'm actually turning the sequin upright again so that I can pick it up and it sits the right way. I'm then going to come in with my Gold Coast Glitter Nouveau drops, and I'm going to put those in the center of each of these. So we'll have a little bit of gold shimmer that's coming through the sequin. And plus, it'll help to hold it down when it dries. And that is our 5th card. I really do hope you enjoyed these. I was very pleased while I was very frustrated going through this because I just was not coming up with some ideas here. I think they all came out very different, very unique. And I think they are representative of the kit. So, with that said, please, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I struggle too, but that's okay. You don't have to like it. All the products that I used will be listed down below in the video description if you wanted to check any of them out. And please, as always, if I forget something, let me know and I'll get you that link. I always do forget something. It's what I do. I think it's my way of communicating with you all. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I hope that you all enjoyed your weekend. But remember what's most important for me. Always, always be creative.